there's some weird stuff inside of lost and founds because, sometimes because we're careless and we leave something somewhere and, forget about it. Sometimes we're distracted. You set something down, you go do something else. I do that kind of thing all the time. I am absolutely like, squirrel, I lost my keys in here the other day on Wednesday night. I was looking for them everywhere, and they were over there by the microwave. I got I got distracted and just left them there. Couldn't find them anywhere. But I think that there's another reason why sometimes we lose things and those things stay lost, and that has to do with its value, right? So, for instance, these WGRC shades. Someone may have recognized that they lost these things, but then they're like, who cares, right? It's not worth my time to go looking for them because they're very cheap shades. There's no name brand on them. These are probably like freebies at a concert or something like that. The only thing that it says on the inside is China. So you can feel the quality is not there. These are not polarized lenses or anything like that. So I'm sure when it comes to things like that, it's like it's not even worth going to go look for them. They're out somewhere. Someone else will find them. It's no big deal. So sometimes I think we lose things and don't bother even looking for them because those lost things are basically just trash. Have you guys ever heard the phrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure? It could also go for women, but I feel like women dig in the trash less. What does that mean? One man's trash is another man's treasure. What does that mean? What does that mean? Okay. Yeah. What one person doesn't want, another person might look at and say, oh, man, I really want that. So they're kind of assigning value to those things. It doesn't have value to one person, but that same thing might have value to another person, which is why dumpster diving is so cool. But I have a game for two of you, all right? And I need 2 volunteers. Come on up. All right, here we go. You guys are each going to get a table. In front of you, there is a bucket of trash, all right? I'm going to ask our sound guys back there, and sorry if you're on YouTube, because even though we actually own the rights to this, we can't do it, but we're going to play one of the fun songs from our album, and you guys are going to have the length of that song or shorter to turn this trash into the best sculpture that you can possibly make within the time frame of the song. All right? Now, it is clean trash. It's not actually trash. So it's trash that we manufactured to look like trash, but it's just regular stuff. So, we unwrapped it ourselves to make it. All right, here we go. Play the song and let's go. You tell us a little bit about your structure, what it means to you, and sell it to our art collectors here.
I'm a con artist handing out fake autographs.
All right, hey. Well done, well done.
So my creation, these are all palm trees because we all like beaches. Who doesn't like beaches? And then the markers are people enjoying the fun under the sun at the beach that we all wish we were at.
Wow, okay. All right, yeah, all right. Hey, you guys can grab a seat. Grab a seat. Well done. You sold the story. You both sold the stories there. Very different, very different. Unfortunately, you told us that they were fake autographs, and so I remember one of the best gifts that I've given to another person that wasn't my wife was when one of my best friends, he had a favorite television show when he was growing up, and I found on eBay a poster of that television show and had the signatures of all the actors on it, and I bought it for him to hang up, and it was like $25. So I'm positive someone was just like in their room signing the poster, but he thought that it was the actual people at least. And so it had a lot of value to him, whereas maybe the actual value wasn't as much. But what was your first thought when I asked you to make a sculpture out of trash? You suck at art, all right? Yep. It's pretty interesting, but what I noticed from both of you is you took your art and you made it into something that had a little bit more of a story. Would you say that it has a little bit more value now than it did before? Maybe, maybe not, right? $200 for each paper, so it has a value to someone that may think that those autographs are real. Although I don't know who they are. Are they just the stock photograph people, the actors themselves that have that? But what we kind of noticed there from that conversation was that value is in the eye of the beholder, right? Like it's subjective. Some things have more value to some people than other things do. And so we're going to set this up as an example. I know that last night you got an hour less of sleep, so I'm not going to have you raise your hand all the way up, but you can just give me like a little half hand, okay? I'm going to tell you two things. You can either raise your hand or raise your hand and give it some spirit fingers to tell me which one has more value to you, okay? So we got dogs or cats. All right. Hey, listen. Thank you, second service. First service was entirely cat people. So apparently that's the kind of people that attend first service. If you're feeling outnumbered here, you should head up to the 9 o'clock service. Lot more dog people in second service. I'm a dog person because cats, I find, close my throat up and I die. So I'm allergic to them. Also allergic to tigers. If you don't believe me, check my Facebook photos. So I was in Thailand and I played with tigers. It was awesome. I played with baby tigers. The adult tiger, I sat and held and was like, please don't eat me, please don't eat me, please don't eat me. I didn't hold it, I like petted it. While someone else in front of it had like a little stick that if the tiger started to turn toward me, they'd whack it in the nose with a little stick. Like, don't make it angry, what are you doing? All right, so the book or the movie made from the book? Book or movie? I agree with that. I would say if it's something real creative, real big, definitely the book. I watched on Netflix the other day, Yesterday. You guys seen that yet? Yesterday. It's about parents, and then they're like saying no to their kids all the time. And then they're like, what if for 24 hours you said yes to everything that your kids said? And that was the movie. Apparently that was based off a book. I'm like, I'm not going to read that book, right? This is real quick. But like, you know, Harry Potter should definitely read the book before the movies. So, a concert or an amusement park? Amusement park, all the way, all the way. My wife's a concert. That's because she dies whenever she's on Like, I'm serious. When we got married, we're on our honeymoon. She just went on like one of those ship things, like they go back and forth. I'm like, this will be a good entryway ride, right? She gets on there, starts screaming and passing out. And I'm like, I broke my wife 2 days in. It was wild. All right. So amusement park, that's good. That's good. All right. Walmart or Target? Target. I would say it depends. Like if I'm gonna buy like decorative stuff, definitely Target. If I'm going for food, Walmart, because it's the same thing at Target, probably from the same place, and it's cheaper. So Dollar General, there you go. Or Bryce Diener showed me an app the other day. I think it was called like Groceries or something like that, and you can grocery cart bin, I don't know, something like that. And you can look up the price of anything at all the different stores around you. So like if you want the cheapest price of carrots, you can look that up if you want to, and if you like carrots. All right, Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper all the way.
Really? Man. I almost bought everyone Mountain Dew because we're low on energy today, but I ran out of time before coming here, and I guess I should have bought Dr. Pepper. Man, all right. The beach or the pool? Okay. Beach or pool? Neither do cats. I don't know if that's true. Well, there you go. All right. I think you'll even out then. All right, pizza or tacos? Tacos. Come on, people, tacos. Pizza, you can get pizza everywhere. I'm not talking about your mama's tacos with the McCormick and the hard shells. We're talking like real tacos, the real deal. All right. Yes. No. Yeah, I know. I don't understand. But yes, tacos are not hard. No, they're not. All right. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully now you see what I mean. Like, this kind of value, it's largely a matter of opinion. Some of us can see the exact same thing and assign different values and attributes, and I think that's why sometimes we look in the lost and found bin and we'll see things in there that have been totally abandoned. Some of us might look at that leather jacket and see dollar signs on their eBay store, while others are like, meh, I never really wore that thing anyways. I've had it for 3 years. I'm not even going to look for it. And so they don't come back for it. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but I've definitely had some moments where I felt kind of like those abandoned sunglasses. I've wondered how much I actually mattered to others, how much I actually mattered to God. Even worse, I've treated other people before as if they were disposable or not worth my time or not worth my attention. Definitely not moments that I'm proud of. But here's what I'm wondering, okay? This morning, here's what I'm wondering. How valuable am I? What determines value? Is it something that we can calculate? All right? So we're going to do some calculations together. Hopefully you brought your math hats. All right? So here is my name, Eddie. All right? We're going to attribute some value to me. All right? So first of all, we have height, right? Okay, so like on a height scale, I'm 6'4", so I'm thinking maybe like 64 points, right? I could get 64 points for that. All right. Attractiveness. Yana said 100. In first service, I got 0. So maybe we could split it at 42. All right. Give myself a 42 here. All right. Let's see. My social security number.
You might not want to give that one to you too.
Well, here's the thing. I once tried to do my taxes, and they asked me if my name was Ryan. So I'm going to give myself a minus 10 points on my social security number because apparently someone else has it too. So let's see. I can, let's see. Hair, my hair, like, listen, my hair is soft, but it is also, I was going to say platinum highlights, but we'll go with gray. So not necessarily, okay, I was going to go with like a -10 for the gray, but you said it looks cool on me, so we'll just even out. We'll give it like a 0. We could get one way or the other, Maybe you like blondes more than brunettes. Am I a brunette? I don't know. It sounds weird, but or black. Yeah, I don't know. So let's see. I'm really tall, but my shoe size is actually only a 10.5. Which is strange, right? Who has a larger shoe size than a 10.5? It's a guy. So all the guys, and I'm taller than all of you. So I don't know. That's like a -20. That's just kind of weird. I feel like maybe it throws off my balance a little bit. Not totally sure. Let's see. This was a good one. I really liked this one from first service. So my survivability, right? So here's the thing. I can like forage things. I'm really decent at mushroom hunting. I've got some survival techniques down, but I also do a lot of things that could kill me. And so we're going to go, well, maybe with an even 0 on that one. So that one's kind of cool. Let's see. Random knowledge. Okay. I think that's an attribute that I have about myself. I'm going to go with a 35. Right, because maybe that's gonna do some things there. My eyes, sure. My eyes are the color hazel. Do what? Oh, negative. All right. So there's -E. I don't know what all that is. Is this what that is, or this E? -E to the I. There's a pi in the I. I'm just going to write math next to this. There we go. Yeah. So we got 35 points. Math. All right. So what's some other things? Okay. So personality. Are you calling me dense? So personality, right? So, I am optimistic. I think that I'm probably funnier than I am. I don't know. I don't know what to attribute this. 20. Some people kind of like me. My wife, sometimes. Ava likes me. So 30? Yeah, we'll go for a solid 30. 29, all right. Got to even out Gabe's dislike of my personality. My chess playing ability, right? Gabe every week just destroys me. He's like an insane master of chess. So I'm gonna go with like -50 right here. Just like tosses me around. Game of cat and mouse. All right. What else? What are they kind of? Oh, how many kids? Yes. Yes, producer of offspring. Right. I've done it at least twice. Right. So we're gonna go with 10 points a kid. 10 points a kid. One's not born yet, so we're gonna go with 10.5. So it's 15 points for that. All right, so it's pretty good. Anyone else want to rate me on anything? Compulsive storytelling? Storytelling. Yeah. Compulsive storytelling. Let me tell you a story about story. No, I'm just kidding. 30. I was going to write a 5, and then it went backwards. 30 points. Okay, sure. My pastoral skills. Pastoral ability. Uh-huh. My mushroom dealing. All right.
How good you are at driving?
Driving. I'm going to give myself a higher score than anyone else will. Driving, I'm going to give myself a 75. All right, never mind. I'm going down to 15 because of Mia's response there.
And because of the whole you racing and then breaking
Oh, you know what? Yeah, we might need to go lower. 5. All right, my mushroom dealing ability, you're a 10. 10 points there. My pastoral ability, what do you guys think? 2, 3, 4, 50. 50? All right, 50.
Just go average.
All right.
In case any of the other former pastors are watching.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true. Is this average?
I would guess so.
Okay, all right.
0 and 100.
All right, so in here in my score, looking at my overall value, we've got, why did I go with odd numbers? This was a terrible idea. 106, 96, 76, add on 86, another 5, 91, 141, 171, 206, I don't know. Then plus some math. That someone said equaled 1, so 207, 220, 230, 3, so this one right here, this one's going to be 1. All right. So this one, the 230 minus 50, that's 80, 195, okay? So 195 is roughly my value. We'll see if we can add on math ability at the end of that to see if I got that right. That's where I was at.
You're wrong. It's 165.
165, so we're going to minus another 100 because of my math ability. And so that would leave us, I think, my math ability is not great, but with a score of 65, is that an F or a D?
That's not F.
All right, so I'm going to go with a D minus. So my value is currently set right now at a D minus. All right, so now obviously, like, we're looking at the list. That is ridiculous, right? It is like if we actually valued people based on these totally random things, it would be pretty strange. This calculation doesn't really represent my value at all, but oftentimes we treat ourselves and we treat other people like it is that way. We look at ourselves and we look at other people's Instagram channels and they're like, oh man, I'm never going to be as tall as Eddie. I'm capped out at 5'6", I don't know, whatever it is. And for some reason we feel less valuable because of height, or or maybe like you look at my math ability and you're like, I didn't even need a calculator. I got that all by myself and I'm amazing, right? And you could add a little bit more value by comparing yourself to someone else. And for some reason we take these things in our mind, and sometimes we do it unconsciously, like we're not actually thinking about it, but we look at our possessions and we go, oh man, if I just had a little bit more money, then I would be more valuable, right? Or we look at someone else who doesn't have a lot and you're like, maybe some less value because they don't have those things. Or we look at our abilities. I had a student once whose name was Austin, and when he was in high school, he was an incredible soccer player. Amazing. The time when he was really young in high school, he was doing so well that he had college scouts that were out looking for him. I think his dad had played professional soccer or something like that, so he had it like in his genes. It was in his blood. He was awesome. He was going to try to be a professional soccer player, and in his junior year, demolished his knee. I mean, just wrecked it. But he was so good that he still had colleges that were willing to offer him a scholarship if he recovered and was able to go through. And so they were still kind of in a pending status. He goes through, he gets surgery on his knee. He goes through all this physical therapy. He gets it stronger than ever. He goes back out onto the field and within a couple weeks blows it out again. Terrible, terrible. Austin's value was like 95% placed in his athletic ability. And I think, generally with young people, there's a lot of young people that are like, what I want to be one day is a professional basketball player or a professional soccer player, professional football player, or something like that. And they're, like, especially when you get to bigger cities, like in Houston, so many of our students were not just in their school sports team, they were like from birth inside of travel teams and personal trainers and like all this crazy stuff going on inside of there to be a professional athlete one day. And like my student Austin, he put so much value into being an athlete that when he blew out his knee, it was just like he lost who he was. All of a sudden, he was really well kept, really personable, really good. Instead of going to college, he decided not to go to college at all, started working at the local Chick-fil-A. His beard got really like mangly and, I don't know if you saw like Rainn Wilson's status update recently. He plays Dwight on The Office, but he said, he was like all serious and he goes, as I get older, I realize every time I look in the mirror that I look more like my gerbil. And he holds up his gerbil and it's like this, mangly, like nasty looking thing. And it was totally true. He did look like his gerbil. But that's where his value was. And sometimes we value ourselves based on our abilities and different things. And we go, oh man, if I could only be like this, then I would have a little bit more value. Sometimes it's our characteristics. And if you think someone's value is determined by their attractiveness or popularity or sense of humor, then you might find yourself sometimes feeling shame about yourself because you don't have those things that you're valuing up. You're not measuring up in comparison to somebody else. Also, you might miss out on friendships if there's someone who's really awesome, but they don't meet some of those same characteristics that you define as valuable. We usually calculate our value and other people's values without really thinking about it. So these are not really conscious thoughts that you're like, you don't look at them and go, okay, what's their hair like? Oh, yeah, their hair's a 55. All of those types of things. But it just kind of happens subconsciously without you intentionally thinking about it. Because we all have preferences, biases, and experience that shape our opinions and what we think is valuable. And that's why we have to really critically think about and define what is valuable. What does value mean? Because it impacts how we treat other people and really how we treat ourselves. So throughout this series, Lost and Found, we are focusing in on one chapter inside of the Bible. And this chapter recounts a series of stories that Jesus told about things. And he was telling them to the Pharisees, actually. The Pharisees were all upset with Jesus because he was hanging out with tax collectors and sinners. And so Jesus says, let me tell you a story. So he's like responding directly to them. And those stories are not historical stories, they're parables. They're stories that he made up in order to make a really important point. And we explored the first of those stories last week, but in order to make this story, this next story make sense, we have to remember who Jesus was talking to and what he was talking about. So he's talking to the Pharisees. Pharisees, they were a group of religious people that were there, and they had gotten into the habit of following all these laws in order to earn their own righteousness before God. And so if people weren't following those things, that was their value system. And so they would go, these people are less valuable, right? And Jesus steps into the picture, and he's hanging out with these people that the Pharisees see as less valuable. And they're going, dude, you're just as bad as them because of who you're hanging out with and the kind of people that you're showing attention to. Those are the people that have less value. And so it's kind of inside of that situation where Jesus starts telling these stories. And then the first week, we talked about the parable of the lost sheep. That when one of the sheep goes astray, that the shepherd goes out looking for him, leaves the 99, goes out and searches down this one sheep, and he celebrates when that sheep is found. He brings it back to the community, and they celebrate. Heaven celebrates when one person who was lost then becomes found. And so let's look at this second story. So he's just telling these stories back to back. He tells the story of the lost sheep, and then he says this second story right here. It's in Luke 15, 8 through 10. I'm so sorry. I think I put the scripture in there backwards, and so there you go. So it says, or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she will call her friends and neighbors and say, rejoice with me because I have found my lost coin. In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angel when even one sinner repents. So the woman in this story had 10 coins and loses one. Now, I don't know if you guys are like me, but if I had 10 coins and I lost one, I'd be like, so what, right? No big deal. But these coins were silver. They actually represented about a day's wage. And so, like, losing a coin is a whole day's worth of work. It would be a little bit of a bigger deal. So I liken it to something that has a bit more value. And to me, that would be my AirPods. Now, I don't have my AirPods with me this morning because I set them somewhere and I need to find them. But I know, right? So I think I know where they are, though. I wasn't desperately looking for them yet. But when I had gotten my second pair of AirPods, I got my AirPods first generation. I loved them. I used them every single day for a few years. And I was at a gymnastics thing for my daughter whenever she was like 2, and I dropped them, and one of the AirPods I didn't know flew out and got lost somewhere. And so then I used one AirPod for a really long time. And my birthday had come around, and I had gotten a brand new pair of AirPod Pros. And I was like, these things are incredible, noise cancellation, all this stuff. And I had taken them to a district conference for the Church of the Nazarene that I was working at the time. And I left for lunch, and I went to a local Starbucks. And I was walking into the Starbucks, and I was like, you know what? This coffee has really moved me. And now I need to go to the porcelain throne. And so I walk into the bathroom, and I noticed that someone else has left a gift for me inside of my throne, and I decided that I needed to flush this down the toilet. And so I think back to this moment, it's like everything happened in slow motion, you know? So I open the door, and I kick the little thing to flush the toilet, and it is like the most powerful vacuum that has ever come on this earth. It's just like, and I take my AirPods out of my pocket, and they're in my left-hand pocket, right? And I'm not left-handed. I'm not dexterous with my left hand at all. And so I kick this thing, I'm taking them out, and something gets caught, and the AirPods come out of my hand, right? These like $250 headphones, all right? And they fall out of my hands, and they hit the ground, and I'm like, no, I'm reaching forward for them. They bounce higher than I've ever seen anything in this world bounce before, like this high off the ground, and I'm chasing after it, and they go into the toilet and disappear. Like the sickening feeling in my stomach, I was just like, oh my goodness. My AirPods, they are gone. They have been flushed down the toilet. And my AirPods, even now, this was the first one that I had tried this on. I had just engraved them on the front where it said found, ? And then had my telephone number on it. And so I imagine in like 5 years, someone's going to like have a dolphin wash up on the shore, cut open its stomach contents, and my AirPods are going to be in there. They're going to call me and be like, what have you done? But ever since then, I gave myself like a 1-year timeout as like a self-punishment, right? I think I even went to Yana, and I was like, hey, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to not say anything about this. Because whatever you can say, I promise you I'm beating myself up more than this. And she's like, what? What happened? I promise I won't say anything. I'm like, I flushed my AirPods down the toilet. She did great, though. She was incredibly graceful inside of there. And so at least a year went by before I would buy myself another pair. Every single day I felt the weight of this. And so now when I lose my AirPods, I'm like, oh, no, this is just like the toilet incident again. Like, I am so careless. What have I done? You know, and like I will I need to. You know what I did one time was I used hot glue and I put one of the tiles on the back so that I could find it, because you can, I think we talked about this last week, you can locate your AirPod pods, but you can't locate your AirPods when they're in the case. And so if you lose the whole thing, you're out of luck. But I will tear apart the house looking for my AirPods. Yana will attest to this. When they're gone and I don't know where they are, I'm looking. I'm like, Yana, have you seen them anywhere? I'm looking behind the couch, pulling the bed apart. Like, I'm looking for them everywhere. I imagine this is what the woman is doing with her coin, right? She's like, not again. I got to find this thing. She's looking for it everywhere. She's already called all of her neighbors, and that's why she's calling them again to go, I found my coin. I've got it. Let's celebrate together. All of those kind of things. And if you remember what we already talked about, there's already been a few celebrations that have been mentioned in this story and in the last one too. So if we're counting so far, the amount of celebrations is 3, right? The shepherd rejoiced whenever he found his sheep. The whole community rejoiced whenever the shepherd found his lost sheep. The woman rejoiced when she found her lost coin. And another thing that we see in common at the end of both of these parables is that Jesus says that there's a huge party in heaven anytime someone who is lost gets found by God. When someone meets Jesus for the very first time, heaven rejoices. When someone who knows Jesus wanders away but then finally comes back, heaven rejoices then too. And these parables, of course, they have a point. They teach us an important point about who God is. Inside of this parable, we learn that when we're lost and when we're wandering far from God, God values us enough to tear the whole house apart looking for us. It's great to know that God values you, but I think the main takeaway of this parable isn't that, right? It wasn't to tell the Pharisees how much God valued them, even though he does value them as well. Jesus' point was that God values everybody. Right? He's responding to the Pharisees with these stories, these Pharisees' devaluation of these particular people. And he's going, let me tell you about a story of what the kingdom of heaven is really like. And so he's telling them that God values everyone, even the people that they overlook, even the people that they dismiss, even the people that they judge, because the Pharisees didn't think that they were holy enough. Because the Pharisees were judgmental towards people that they considered sinners, Jesus needed them to understand that God deeply loved the people that didn't matter to them. And the Pharisees were convinced that these sinners were less valuable than God, and therefore to them, because they weren't as pure or as righteous as the Pharisees were. And although the Pharisees knew the scriptures really well, I think they missed out on some of them when it came to this kind of action and attitude towards other people. Here's one, for instance. It's Psalm 103, 8-13. This one I don't think is in reverse order. The Lord is compassionate and merciful, slow to get angry, and filled with unfailing love. He will not constantly accuse us, nor remain angry forever. He does not punish us for all of our sin. He does not deal harshly with us as we deserve. For his unfailing love toward those who fear him is as great as the height of the heavens above the earth. He has removed our sins as far from us as the east is from the west, this immeasurable distance. The Lord is like a father to his children, tender and compassionate to those who fear him. So the Pharisees were judgmental and self-righteous and condemning to others, and they believed that that's how God wanted them to be. But unlike the Pharisees, this psalmist here tells us that God is merciful and gracious and is slow to anger and overflowing with love and forgiving and compassionate. Jesus needed the Pharisees to catch this reminder. But I think also he knew that the Pharisees weren't alone. I think, Jesus had the foreknowledge that this would eventually become scripture and that we would be learning from this one day and that we need this reminder as well. Like that woman and her lost coin, Jesus values you, and he also values the people that we struggle to value. So how does this parable challenge us today? How do you need to adjust your understanding of Jesus's real value system here? How do you need to change your behavior to better value yourself or to better value other people? I think there's kind of 3 takeaways. Do you need to let God find you? Just like the woman that's in today's story, God is relentlessly chasing after us when we wander away from Jesus. And if you've never gotten to know Jesus, or if you've wandered away from him, maybe today is the day that you decide that you'd like to be found again. And if that's you, maybe your next step today is to tell God what you're turning away from so that you can follow Jesus more fully. Do you ever feel worthless? I think that's the second takeaway. If you question your worth, do you think that you've been calculating your values based on the wrong thing? Do you need to hear how much God values you today? If so, maybe your next step can be to ask God and the people that you trust to help you see your value through Jesus' eyes. We had our small group here in the first service, and Sam was speaking in it, and he said something. I was like, man, that is so beautiful. Like, I love the way that he said this, because it's totally true and scriptural. But he said, like an eBay store, right? Like, I sell things on eBay all the time. People are only willing to pay what they want to pay, right? Like, I can put anything on eBay. It doesn't mean anybody's going to buy it. There are good brands that are out there, let's say Express for Men, all right? Or like any of the shirts that you buy from like Nordstrom or JCPenney, like most of those brands, you can pay a really high price tag in the store. You put them on eBay, they don't sell for anything, right? Same shirt you can go buy for like $60, you can find for like $7 on eBay, brand new with the tag. Like, it's crazy. Other brands, they can be used and resell for a higher value sometimes than even what they sell inside of the store, right? A lot of the sneakerheads, they will buy shoes whenever they drop, resell them on eBay because people are willing to pay more. For us, if we based our value on what someone was willing to pay for us, then we can determine our value based on what Jesus was willing to pay for the price of our souls. Scripture tells us that we were bought with a price, and that price was the sacrifice of his son to bring us back into relationship with him. That's a huge price. So if you ever feel worthless, remember that you were bought with a price. There is a God, the God of the universe values you so much that he was willing to pay the cost of his own son to bring you back to him. Last thing is this: do you feel like you treat others like they're worthless? In that story, to the Pharisees specifically, Jesus is addressing that. And although this story does remind us how much you and I are valued by God, Jesus had this bigger purpose in the story to convict us when we're treating others with less value than they deserve. And so who is it that you've been treating as though they're less valuable than they really are? Who do you dislike? Who have you been judging? Who have you been overlooking or maybe labeling as a sinner? If you can name someone that you've been devaluing, maybe your next step today can be to do something that shows them and you that they are truly valuable. That Jesus values you. He values the people that you struggle to value. And I guess you could say there are two truths, and these two truths are two sides of the same coin. We have a response for you guys today. And inside this bucket is a coin. It is an empty coin, nothing written on either side. But here's what I want you to do. We're going to play a song from our worship playlist up there. And on one side of the coin, you're going to come up and get your own. And you can keep this coin in your pocket, in your purse, whatever it is, just somewhere where you're going to see it occasionally. You can carry it around with you, especially if you feel like you struggle with one or the other. But on one side, you're going to write, Jesus values me. Okay? Jesus values me. I told you my dexterity is terrible. So on one side, write, Jesus values me. And then when you look at that, what I want you to be reminded of is that when there are times when you're doubting your own value, either because of something you did or something that you think you are, you remember your worth, what the price that Jesus was willing to pay for you was. I said this in my small group too, but if I had $100, I think I have $100 in here. If I had a $100 bill, right, how many of you guys would like this $100 bill? I'm not going to give it away, spoiler alert. All right, what if I crumpled up the $100 bill? You want it now? What if I rubbed it in my armpit. That's kind of, You guys still want this? Some of you guys, yes. Some of you guys, no. $100, right? $100. When you crumple this up, even like, let's say I buried it outside and it spent the winter under the snow and you got it and it was like dirt all over it, would you still want the $100? Absolutely, right? Because $100 is still worth $100. It has intrinsic value there, right? In the same way, you were created in the image of God. And sometimes we can look at $100 and we can go, I don't care if it is trampled. I don't care if it stinks a little bit. In fact, like the thing that has the most fecal matter in the world, I think, and bits of cocaine I've heard, is $100 bills, right? They've been through some stuff, some really crazy stuff. We can still look at that and go, I don't care if it's been trampled. I don't care what it's been through. It still has value. In the same way, you need to look at yourself and go, I've been through some stuff. Maybe I've been trampled. Maybe I've been looking down on myself, but I still have value because of who God created me to be. So that one side of your coin, it's going to say, Jesus values me. And then on the other side of the coin, I want you to think about that person that is your EGR person, extra grace required. The person that is really hard to love, the person that's really hard to value. Maybe you've been devaluing them or you have put labels on them. And on the other side of the coin, you write, Jesus values them. You don't need to use their name in case they find it and they're like, what's up with this? So one side of the coin, Jesus values me. The other side of the coin, Jesus values them. Let's play a song and then I'll pray us out and we'll break out into our small groups. We thank you for this day. God, I'm thankful for the way that you value us, that we were not created by accident. We are not mistakes. Even if our parents weren't planning for us, we're not mistakes because your word says that you knew us before we were even formed, before we even thought about. And so, God, I thank you for the plan that you have for our life. I thank you for the intention that you have created us with and that you have made us in your image. God, we thank you for the value that you have given every single one of us. God, would you help us see ourselves through your eyes, the way that you value us? But God, would you also help us see other people through that same lens? That they were created with a purpose, for a reason. They were created in your image, and that they deserve to be loved and to be valued. God, we thank you for the way that you value us. Thank you for speaking to us today, and thank you for loving us. In Jesus' name, amen. You're dismissed to your small groups. Unpack this a little bit more, and we'll see you guys Wednesday night. 9 Square is back. It's been incredible. Good seeing your faces this morning.